So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries. Next on the agenda, we have a request here from the Broadband Committee. They put together a letter that they'd like to mail out to Lori. I didn't read this whole letter, but can you speak on this?
It's supporting Natalie, can you just remind me on that one? It's supporting the letter from the Broadband Committee. Southwest Regional Planning, and how the Broadband Committee is supporting their endeavors to increase broadband in the area.
It's for a grant.
For a grant.
So just a letter of support.
Yep.
I have one question before we finish, and I'm not against it one bit whatsoever. I just want to make sure we're doing things properly. Should this be coming from the Board of Selectmen and not the Broadband Committee, because they're only an advisory committee?
It wouldn't hurt if you wanted to sign it as well.
Yeah.
Have both of you sign the letter. I don't think it matters.
No, we could do two letters if we want to do one from the board and one from the committee.
That would be super helpful.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking because most advisory committees that the town has,
Yep.
anything that they're doing comes from the Board of Selectmen.
Right. But they've been a part of the whole conversation, so they know what's going on.
Which I'm fine with. I just want to make sure we're doing it right and
Yep.
doing it the way it will benefit the town.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe just print another copy of this same letter, but add a spot for the selectmen to sign.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I can come in and sign it.
Yep.
So the motion's been made to accept and send this and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carried.
Okay. Ben, so I was just advised that it needs to be signed and mailed to them by tomorrow. So if it's something, if we can pre-approve it now for the board to do it and then print it off and sign it tomorrow.
Well, I can, well, you need one signature.
Yeah.
You need one signature. I can come first thing in the morning and sign on, I don't know, Carrie. What time do you get here in the morning?
7:30.
Yeah, tomorrow morning would be great. We could just get it to Carrie.
Why don't you just authorize me to sign it?
Yeah,
Yeah, can we let Carrie sign it?
absolutely.
Coming from the town.
Yeah.
I just gotta be at conference for 9 tomorrow morning, so.
That's fine.
I won't be,
Yeah, I'll create a letter and sign it.
okay,
Perfect.
that'll work. All right, next on the agenda is, Carrie's put together an advertisement for us. I think we need to post in the papers and wherever else we normally post along with, I believe the Municipal Association has a page for postings like this, and a few other places, and maybe Jim can work with Carrie on some police websites or whatever, but we'd like to post for applications for a full-time police chief. So, what's the pleasure of the board on that? So, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carries. Next, Rick came across some new funding, a STAG grant, that will help cover the costs, well, some of the costs for the biosolids study. And Rick has given us a letter of support from the Board of Selectmen to the
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Next, we have a rental tax levy for map 12, lot 23, in the amount of $129.60.
Make a motion to approve it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. I see one page for signatures on that. Next, we have two, one, I'll go separate, so different, I guess. We have a notice of intent to cut wood, no motion needed on it. It's for, map 15, lots 18 and 20. And the second one, there is a notice of excavate. All again, no motion needed. This is for 12, lot 23. Next, we have a permit for raffle tickets for the Winchester VFW.
Dad, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing. Can you talk a little louder? Thank you.
Next, we have a permit for raffle tickets for the Winchester VFW. You're over that second building, have it better.
Thank you.
Oh, trust me, it's my pleasure to take that off. For some cash drawings throughout the month of June.
Make a motion to approve that.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Next, Terry put in a letter, Savings Bank of Walpole has reached out. I'd like to set up a time to meet with the select board, and just wondering, a few days in time, this would work good for us, so that we can let them know and see what we're working their schedule. This week I'm completely unavailable, but next week I'll be back to have available Thursday or Friday all day. I don't know what everybody else's availability is. That's next week, Thursday, Friday. Are you available anytime, either of those 2 days? James, you can pretty well.
How many, we're gonna have 2 or 3? Well, we can post it.
We can post it as a meeting.
Yeah, I can't do Thursday. I can do Friday though,
All right.
but I can't get away too long.
Right. So Carrie, can you just let them know that next Friday would be a preferred day, but if that doesn't work, Thursday would be our second option. And if that doesn't work, let us know, and we'll have to see what else can happen. Next, in the financial folder, there's a request for payment of the $2,000 deposit for the work on the archway over the cemetery for the insurance job.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Next is just the, we need to vote to approve the electronic payment for the school payment. We're doing electronic payments now. The amount is $406,720.60.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Next is a request for payment of the cemetery building donation check request for payment from the ambulance billing fund to Certified Ambulance Group for $908.34.
So motion to approve that. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carries. Now, that is everything we have in the folder. So next, we have, Robert Luzio here, the Luzio Ambulance Service. Thank you for coming down. And, Fire Chief is also here. We have a new contract, it's at time of year, and, we wanted to speak with Rob, the contract for was able to make it out here tonight. So Rob, if you would, just come up to the microphone, and, I noticed there's a few changes from our old contract. I didn't know, maybe you could just describe those changes and.
Sure.
Point of order, Mr. Chair, just people on the live stream can't hear anything, they just hear rumbling papers. I just want to make a point of order that people,
I had a feeling that was gonna happen, that's why I announced at the beginning of the meeting. Unfortunately, like I said, the tripod was,
if you don't mind, I'll go sit by the speaker if I can use the mic.
if you'd like to, yeah. Without the tripod, we couldn't come up with a.
No problem.
A good way to keep it near the speaker.
I have it in my car, you want me to go around and get it?
Well, it's up to you and Lindsay.
I was in the car, I'll go get it.
I'll
All
sit
right,
here
go
for
ahead,
now,
Bob.
Nat. Sorry, people.
You can take that off, oh yeah.
Excuse me.
So the few changes, one is the paramedic intercept rate increase from $250 to $300, which I think in the letter I sent down, we haven't had an increase in 10 years. And that's just an increased operational cost to cover the cost of equipment, things like that. The only other major changes in there was a few operational issues pertaining to recognition of command staff, and that's more of an operational thing for, if there was a major incident, the chief would have the ability to use our supervisors for mass casualty roles, things like that. The other thing was in there is some new provisions for data sharing, for like HIPAA regulations and things like that, where right now, if we do a paramedic intercept for the town, the ambulance service bills for the call and reimburses us the intercept portion. They need to get a copy of our own report, and so there's just some new provisions in HIPAA that we put in there. Another change that was in there related to data is some of the new systems that are coming out from mutual aid for pre-alerting of calls and things like that through the Synergy system that dispatch uses at Southwest Mutual Aid. The ability for us to receive some of that data pre-alert, so that way we know there's a call. For example, if we were to get the pre-alert, we would know there's a call coming in Winchester. Our crews would be prepared to potentially respond earlier and things like that. So just to, other than that, I don't know if there's any other major changes that I saw from the last contract we had. There's been, over the years, there's been some things that we've done to clean up language, like mutual indemnification, some things like that that are part of our standard contract language. If there's something specific that you saw a difference in, I'd certainly be willing to address that. But.
I had one quick question here. Well, I've got a couple questions, but the first quick one, under the billing terms, the very first paragraph, the old contract had a sentence at the end of it that said there are no other costs for paramedic intercept services, and that sentence was removed in the new contract. Is there a reason?
I think it probably because I think the last contract we had, from what I can tell, was 2008 maybe.
Yeah.
And I just think so we've had other towns that have come on board with us since then. I think it was just a language change, but there still is no other charge for paramedic intercept service other than $300.
Okay. Before we go too much further, if the board would approve, I'd like to ask the fire chief if he has any questions about the contract.
I would.
No, I reviewed them. I'm all set with that.
Okay.
You're good with it, Barry? You're good with it?
Yes.
Okay.
My last question, and I know most of the board has this question, and I'm sure if all your contracts look similar to this, you've probably heard the question before. And I wouldn't be doing my job as selectman if I didn't ask. Is there a way to change the fact that any bills that you have that are unpaid from Winchester calls, that the town of Winchester is responsible to pay those. I'm trying to figure out, is there a way to change that?
I guess, what are you looking for the change? For the town just not to be responsible or
Well,
for it, or?
in the perfect world, yeah. I mean, we send bills out to people, and unfortunately, as you know, sometimes if insurance doesn't cover the complete bill, it's hard to collect the rest, and sometimes people just can't afford it, and it turns into a problem being able to collect. And unfortunately, we don't have a town we can say, well, these people didn't pay, so you got to pay me now.
Right. So and this has been something that's been in our contracts for many, many years. Actually, the first contract we had for Winchester for backup ambulance in the late 90s, when we used to have a provision in there when we would know in advance if there were crews available, we actually had a daily standby fee of $50 plus the guaranteed payment. And so, and I think we talked about this a couple of years ago, before you guys went to per diem staffing in the daytime, that that we are a paid service that has to get paid for the service we provide, whether it's a standby fee or whatever. And so the provisions in there is that if we provide a service to the town, you have a town ambulance that you fund through taxes and revenue and things like that. And if that service is not available, someone else has to provide that service, and we need to make sure that we can cover the cost of that service. So that provision's in there is for the fact that not times when your services are maxed out, for example, like a mass casualty, or you have 2 ambulance calls at once. So we consider those mutual aid calls. You've got your crews together, you've providing the service that your taxes or your revenue covers, and now it's beyond that, a third call, an extra ambulance at a car accident. Those are not under that provision. So we look at that as mutual aid. You help us out, we help you out. What we're looking at is the times when maybe you can't provide a crew. So tax dollars and revenue are going to provide that crew that now you're not providing, and someone else has to do that service. And that's why we have that charge. I can tell you that since the town has gone to per diem service and the coverage you've been providing, the number of times that we bill for those calls has gone way down.
Oh, yeah. No, I know there's been a
Yeah.
huge decrease in that overall
and I
amount.
applaud you guys for doing that, because I know it's a struggle, and I know a lot of the towns have a hard time getting ambulance crews.
Yeah.
But just as you have to pay for your ambulance, we have to pay for ours, and that's why that provision's in there.
Okay.
And
So,
Yeah.
the problem doesn't always lie within who's gonna get paid. The way it's set up right now, if you don't receive payment from the person or the parties that you're transporting,
Yep.
then the contract reads that the town of Winchester is responsible. Understand?
Yep.
That's completely reasonable because you are providing the service. But is there some way that, in this, I know that the part of the answer is the HIPAA laws. Right now, is there some way, is there a provision that we could put in there so we could get the information so we as a town could go after payment? Because right now, currently, we can't. If you don't get paid from them, you're going to get paid from us, and we're stuck holding the bag.
Yeah.
So I think that's where Ben was going. Is there a way that we can at least get the information, the billing information, and go forward?
So I can tell you that if you're looking to bill like the patient's insurance or whatever, then if we're sending you that bill, we've exhausted those sources. So it says 90 days in there, but I can tell you like the bill that I'll be sending probably the end of this week, actually some of those calls go back actually 6 months because it's a 90-day cycle.
Yeah.
So after 90 days, it's pretty unlikely we're going to get paid. After 6 months, it's pretty unlikely that anyone's going to get paid. And there's also a provision there too. If for some reason after I send you that bill, if 90 days from that point we get paid for that, we reimburse you. I think it's only happened like 4 or 5 times in all the time of our contracts. So when I send a list to the town of the calls we've done, the information of the time and date of the call is in there. And for HIPAA reasons, it's literally just a last name. So as far as providing you all the billing information and everything, we would have to look at, I'd have to contact our HIPAA attorneys to see what the provision is there for that. I don't know of anything that would allow for that, but there's a possibility. I know some other towns have done things where they've, used welfare funds and things like that to try and cover some of those costs. But I'm not sure if there was another means for us to be able to do that. I do provide the information of the call, the time, like I said, time, date of the call, the address of the call, the charges, and I also include a reason why we didn't get paid. It'll say no insurance, or insurance only paid a certain portion and the patient's still responsible for the copay. But I can tell you that if we've sent the bill to you, our billing agent, and us internally have done our due diligence to contact insurance companies, reach out to the patients, find other insurance sources. And we've even brought into contract companies that do call scrubbing to see if there's some insurance out there that we don't even know about that the patient may have from a past employment or things like that. So if we're sending it to the town, it's usually pretty well knowledgeable that you're probably not going to get paid.
Well, in most cases, I don't believe it's the insurance part of it that you're, I shouldn't say you're fighting with, because you fight with them all the time.
I understand.
But you do get some type of payment.
Yeah.
It's the individuals without the insurance that you don't receive payment from them, but you do from us.
Yeah.
And then we're stuck holding the bag here.
Yeah.
So I'd appreciate if there's something that you could look into, if there's a provision that we could add to this contract to say, all right, Deluzio Ambulance Services will be paid by the town of Winchester, but information will be.
Yeah, I'll certainly look into it. Yeah, I'll most definitely look into it.
That's the only question
Yeah.
I think all of us had about this contract.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
we just, because it's much better, as you stated,
It's much better, yeah.
but there was a few years ago where I hate to tell you the number out because I'd be lying, but we wrote off thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Oh, I'm well aware.
Yeah.
Well aware. We're in the ambulance business, we know.
Yeah.
I'm well aware. Yeah, I will certainly investigate another provision. I've never seen anything like that, but I will certainly investigate it for you.
I'd appreciate it.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Is there any way, because the description you just gave me of when you actually build the town of Winchester,
Yep.
this paragraph that speaks on it doesn't have that verbiage in it. This paragraph makes it sound like basically any and all times that Deluzio Ambulance Service comes to Winchester, no matter what, that Winchester will be responsible. Is there any way to maybe change the verbiage of that paragraph to state that it's for non-mutual aid?
I thought there was a paragraph in there that discusses mutual aid.
There's another paragraph in here that talks about mutual aid, but I'm referencing just the one paragraph that states the town will be billed for the outstanding charges of the transport. That paragraph doesn't specify what types of calls you'd be billing for.
So the call, what I can do is I can add the calls that we're talking about. We classify those as what we call municipal, because they're a municipal call where the municipal agency that's in place couldn't do the call, as opposed to a mutual aid. So I could put some language that says if it's a municipal call, then that would define that better.
Okay. Yeah, if you could do that, I would definitely appreciate that. And then my other question I had, you just brought it up a minute ago also, with where if you bill us and then you do end up collecting money, you reimburse the town within 90 days. The way I read that paragraph is, so you bill Winchester because you tried for your 90 days, and then we pay you, and then within 90 days after the time that we pay you, if you get reimbursed, if you get any other money for that call that we paid for, you reimburse us. But after that 90 days, if you get paid any money, it still doesn't, at that point, it doesn't come back to the town of Winchester?
Correct, because the reason is at that point, we've closed out those accounts. So at that point, it's what, 9 months into it, and those accounts get closed for our billing purposes. And that's nothing new in the contract either. It's always been that way as well.
All right, yeah, I personally just didn't like the way that sounds, but I personally feel like even if we're not talking about the town of Winchester, if I paid you for something and then you got reimbursed by somebody else for what I paid you, whether it was 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year,
Yeah.
then now you've been double paid for something.
Yeah, I
And
can bring it back and review it, but that's been the same language well, and that's because of the way our billing agent works, and when they close out the accounts at that point, it's been written off as lost revenue, basically, so it's not really tracked anymore.
Right, right. But, I mean, I would appreciate if you could review it, and, I mean, if there was a way to do away with that 90-day time period, I mean, we all know in reality, chances are after 90 days, nobody's paying you, but I would just, myself, I would feel a little better if that 90-day time period wasn't in that paragraph.
I'll speak with our billing agent and see if there's some provision they can make for that.
Yeah. That was all the questions I had from the board. Anybody else have any more questions for him? And Barry, you're still good? Yep.
Mr. Chair, I have a question I could ask.
Is the board okay with taking a couple questions? Yes, please just come forward and use the microphone.
Thank you.
And as usual, just state your name and address for the record.
Teresa Seppi, 79 Old Mountain Turnpike Road in Winchester. Every month you sign an invoice for CAG, which is Certified Ambulance Group.
They do our billing for our ambulance.
Right, they do the billing, medical billing, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way that you can change the contract or change with them that they get less percentage if they don't collect, say, under $5,000 or whatever? Because it's crazy. I mean, I remember it's crazy the amount of money that
Oh,
town of
it is.
Winchester is responsible for. But what are we paying CAG for if they only bring a minimum amount of money in and the percentage that we give them is the same? Whether they bring $1,000 in or $10,000, they get a percentage off the top of that money.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
we're losing money, but we're at least gaining something because we have them, you know, a bill for a month is $3,000. They get $2,700. That's better than nothing, but we give them a percentage of that $2,700 right off the top.
Right.
So why don't we change the percentage they get based on how much money they bring in?
Yeah, I don't disagree with you one bit, Teresa. I'm not sure when that contract runs up that we have with CAG.
That was my question. When was the contract? I'm sorry. The question was, when does that contract run up? And could the board look at change the percentage they get? They automatically get a percentage whether they make $1 or $10,000.
Right, yeah. I will, Carrie, can you ask Amy to find out for us when that contract runs up? Because that would be one of my questions along with a few others, just like I had for Rob here.
I will tell you, some billing agencies will charge you a percentage of what they collect, and some will charge you a percentage of what they bill.
Right,
So it's worth looking into what they do, yeah.
yeah. Which
Because
I
that
do.
encourages them to be more aggressive with their billing.
We
to
did,
get a percentage of
right,
what they collect, as
right.
opposed
Well,
to-
we did have that change the last contract around with them. So that the price did decrease that we pay them for a lot of different reasons, and one of them is because we pay them a percentage of what they actually collect and not what they bill anymore, which helped us, but we still, at the end of the day, nobody wins. Yeah, so I mean, I would, I would like to hold off on making a motion on this until we get a revised copy, after you have a chance to review a couple things and send us a revised copy. And as long as, other than that, I see no problem with us approving it. I would just like to have the up-to-date one in front of me when we make the motion and approve it. So, no other questions from the board for Rob? All right, well, thank you very much for coming down, and thank you for the services you've helped the town of Winchester with. Okay, that's all I had in the folder. I'm just double checking the. Yeah, that's all that was in the folder, and I got two things here. I I was going to ask about it last week and I forgot all about it, but the Ashwillet Library mowing, I guess they were doing it themselves basically last year, and they feel like they're unable to do that, and they would like to discuss hiring somebody to do it. And I was thinking that we already have somebody that mows the little triangle right across the road and a couple other spots in town. I was thinking, see if they'd be willing to take that on also while they're across the road mowing. I don't know what the board's pleasure is on that.
I used to do it then, and so it's a good thing for the town because it keeps it clean. And they're old enough where they can't be doing it with a push mower anymore.
Right,
So
right.
I say just.
Yeah, I have no problem getting somebody to mow it. I just figured we already have somebody that
Yeah,
mows.
that's what I'm saying. So we've got someone that's doing it, let them do it. My opinion.
Yeah. So maybe, Carrie, can you reach out to him and see if he's interested? And if he is, let him know to go ahead and add it to his list for this year. And if he's not, let us know and we'll have to see what else we can do.
Now, Ben, is the library gonna pay for that separate, or are we gonna put that on with the regular maintenance we do down there?
Well, we haven't paid for that mowing over there because they were doing it themselves, so I would think that would go on with the other town mowing, because it's still a town building and town land.
Yeah, I just want it
So
brought up so everybody's
it would have to
understanding.
come out of our maintenance. And then the only other thing I had on my list is I wanted to thank everybody. The town's deliberative was last Saturday. I think it went really smoothly and really well. So I'd like to thank everybody that came out to not only help, but also the citizens that came out to participate. And as a reminder, this Saturday at the school at 9 o'clock is the school deliberative session. And then we'll be voting. Voting day is May. So I used to say in March. May 11th, again at the school. And that is all I have. Does anybody else from the board have anything? No? Rick, did you have anything for the board, or you all set?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I know Jack had asked me earlier about Richmond Road cleanup, and I have been communicating with Tom Hollick. He thinks he's still a couple weeks away before he's ready. We're talking about the cleanup and perhaps hydro seeding, so he'll be up here within a couple weeks to look things over, and we'll have a game plan, and I'll have a report for you, okay? So just want to let you know that is,
Thank you.
that's moving ahead. That will be cleaned up and reseeded.
Good.
All right, good. Thank you, Rick. And also, again, it's good to see you up and moving around, and glad surgery went well for you. Barry, you're all set? All right. At this time, I will open it to the floor for 15 minutes public comment.
Jen Howe, Old Chesterfield Road. First of all, thank you guys for approving the letter before I got here for the broadband committee. Second of all, the broadband committee is still looking for 2 more members and as many alternates, so I just wanted to announce that here. And then
Do we have that posted on the town page still?
I do have it posted, looking for members.
Okay.
And then the last thing, we were wondering if we could have permission to do a Facebook page for information only. Other towns in the southwestern New Hampshire region do have Facebook pages to give out information on the stage of the process for acquiring different broadband if that happens. So.
Can you attach it to the towns that's already up?
I'll do whatever you guys prefer.
I don't know if you can attach it.
No.
No, okay.
Yeah.
I know
I'm
you
not-
guys have a social media policy. I haven't looked
Right.
at that yet, but I looked on the website today. I couldn't find it, but we would obviously adhere to your social media policy, and it'll just
Yeah,
be
I mean-
informational.
Yeah, I have no problem with an informational page. I mean, obviously, it's only a percentage of our residents that use Facebook, but it's still another tool to utilize. Even though it's kind of an oxymoron using the internet to ask
For-
questions
yeah,
about why you don't
exactly.
have good internet. But I do agree. I have no problem with it, with them using it. Anybody?
No.
Yeah. So, yeah, just keep in contact with Carrie. And
Okay.
she'll help you make sure that everything's working the way it's supposed to.
Okay, all right, that's all I had.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else from the public?
I always try to give a moment. Whoa, John, you're shorter than me. I don't usually put the microphone up. I'm sorry. I had a quick question about, I noticed in your minutes from 3:24 that you came out of non-public at 7:51 and you didn't adjourn until 8:20. I didn't know if that was a typo or if there was some additional discussion that maybe just wasn't elaborated on in the minutes.
I would have to
Must have
look
been a
back at
typo.
the minutes, but it
Typo.
had to have been a typo.
Thanks, Carrie. I also thought that you had a non-public posted on 4/1, but I didn't see any minutes from that. So I understand that you might have sealed those minutes, but there should have at least been, the board started a meeting, entered non-public, came out of non-public.
Yeah,
Just-
They would have signed them tonight, and then they'll get posted with last week's minutes.
Oh, I didn't hear him approve them, that date, so I wouldn't have asked.
I didn't.
I just wanted to double check your notes.
Yeah, we didn't.
And then it was announced at the beginning of the meeting, but the mic wasn't in a great place for people to hear. And I would love if you would elaborate a little bit on the posting for the police chief. So I think that you announced that you would go ahead and post for the police chief. There was a motion, a second, and you decided to do that. But there hasn't really been any discussion. So I was just wondering, are you going to continue as you were? Will the job description be full-time?
Yeah, the motion was to advertise for a full-time police chief. There's been no changes to any job descriptions or anything like that. This is the first step, and chances are we'll be discussing hiring MRI again to do the background interview process. They do a very thorough job, and
The school has positive things to say about them as well. So.
and, well, that's why I made it very clear that I supported the school's decision on going with MRI for the business manager. They're a great company. Unfortunately, they're not cheap, but you get what you pay for. So that's going to be a discussion that the board will have once it gets closer to the end of the application time period. That is going to be posted to take applications up till April. There was a memo for that. Do you remember what the date?
26th.
26th, Monday the 26th.
It'll be open a good 3
well,
weeks or so.
Right, yeah, that'll be the cutoff for the filing period for applications as normal. If for some reason we don't get any, or we get only one and we feel like we could get more, we could revisit and extend that time period out further. But as of right now, it's gonna be advertised, and we will be having conversations about the possibility of hiring MRI and how we want to handle all that.
Well, I'll look forward to those conversations and that discussion, and I wanted to thank you again for bringing that forward because it was just a little confusing, so I'm assuming that you just decided it was time to bring that up again, so
Yep.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the public have anything? All right. I heard you talking a minute ago. I didn't see you move to sitting behind me, so I was like...
No, I can't hear very much, so I had to move to the speaker, so I apologize. Natalie Quevedo, 112 Ashwillet Street. I have 4 things. I might forget 1 or 2, so I apologize. The first would be that I'm a little upset, and I'm going to ask the board that the social media policy hasn't been followed. So if you look on the town Facebook page that we have, there's a lot of comments under there that are extremely defamatory towards people. And I know that when we made the social media policy, we didn't exactly, like, you know, because we all worked on it together, like, you know, nobody's fault. We didn't realize that there's a difference between a town Facebook page and a town group. So you can't always filter comments on a town page. I would just ask that maybe the board get together. I'm willing to help you, that we figure out a way to make sure that people who are being extremely derogatory, sexist, racist, homophobic, you know, any of that are not able to make comments, so that way everybody in the town feels accepted.
I can tell you that the board agrees with that 100%. The last couple meetings has been quite a few comments going on, and Carrie was working on trying to figure out how to stop that from happening, and we literally just found out, we're just told tonight, right before the meeting, that because of the way it's a page it's a page and not a group, we can't.
Right.
We can't
Carrie,
shut off the
there
comment
are
there.
ways. I'm willing to offer my help yet again. There are ways to filter that, and I'm happy to work
We
with
saw
you
the
guys if you need help.
We did see the filters when we were looking at it, but we were more concerned with trying to find a way to just block it, stop it.
You can't
So
just
we're,
stop
we're,
it.
We're,
No.
we're rethinking how that page is going to be set up here.
There's no other way to set it up, because you can't just stop them.
But I was
100%.
thinking of making a group on that page. Through that page, through the town page, make a town group that the meetings are done through the group. That way we can, as a group, we can block comments and stuff.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much, board. Can I make a suggestion that perhaps that we start a social media or a media committee to help form that within the town, so that way you could bring people that are maybe a little bit more privy to that, to help the select board and help Carrie do that.
We've actually partially tasked that, and we're going to. Carrie's been in communication with our IT department, our IT people. They handle all our computers and phone lines and everything. And Carrie's been in conversations with them on it, and she's working with them pretty closely on trying to figure out a way to do this. So.
Okay, thank you. Again, I'll offer my services if you need. The second thing I would like to request is that people, I'm not an elected official, nor am I part of a board or any other committee. Well, no, I am, but I'm not a part of the board. I've had a couple of concerned residents come up to me that are really concerned with the way that the welfare officer is handling people in town. She has not been responsive or offers no solution to people that are actually in need. So I would request that the select board do a review of what the welfare officer is doing, her caseload, what she's responding to as far as calls. And I know you guys restricted her hours. She is now allowed to work remotely. But the amount of people that actually are able to come into the office to meet with her. So I just request that the select board do a review on that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. There was 4 things and I forgot, so I'm just gonna leave you guys be. Thank you very much for everything you do.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public have anything?
Hi there.
Hey.
I'm Felicia, currently acting lieutenant for the ambulance. I'm sure you all know me. A week ago, our staff sent a letter to the board and to Barry about naming me captain, and I'm kind of wondering where we are with that decision. I've been doing the job now for well a year. I'm pretty much the reason why that there's a staff crew there every single day of the week. I do the schedule, I make sure that people are doing what they're supposed to do, their research, everything. And it's hard for me to follow chain of command when it's kind of all jumbled still. So I'm kind of wondering where we're at with that.
Yeah, we haven't made a decision on that. We were actually, because matters of promotions, hiring, anything like that are normally done in non-public by RSA.
Okay.
And we will be scheduling a meeting in non-public soon to discuss that with yourself, the fire chief, everybody pertinent and that's involved.
Okay. I just think it's in poor taste that I wasn't involved with anything to go on with the talks with Mr. DeLuzio. I'm a huge part of our service right now. And I'm trying my best to do everything, and it's really disheartening to be left out of important conversations. I'm not sure if you're aware that I was, but I am.
All right. Yeah, I know the select board has been asking DeLuzio to come in and meet with us about our contract, and
I feel like the person running the ambulance should also be in those talks, and I would think the town people would support me on that.
yeah. Well, that's why we had asked the fire chief to come, and the fire chief was in discussions with Rob to schedule a time to get him down here. So.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. Anybody else?
So Natalie Quevedo, 112 Charlotte Street. I had 4. I remember the 3rd. So thank you for hearing me again. I've also been hearing from some other residents about the police department. I was just wondering if the select board, since we do not have a chief right now, thank you very much for putting out the job description for a chief. I think it would be very helpful. I remembered my 4th thing right now, so thank you. Thank you very much for putting the job description out for the chief. I was wondering, what is the protocol if our police department is not able, given that we don't have a chief, to ask for help?
To do what? I'm
Ask
sorry.
for help if we are not able to satisfy the needs of the community.
To ask for help?
Yeah. Who do we contact?
That's not just a police chief.
No, just the police department. I'm sorry.
Right. We still have full capability of asking for any help needed for any situation, even without the police chief.
Is there a protocol or a timeline where the town of Winchester says, we cannot physically handle this, we are going to contact XYZ?
We're part of a mutual aid agreement with all the surrounding police departments. Many police departments are part of this agreement, and this agreement was put together by the Cheshire County
Attorney.
Sheriff's Department.
Police chief.
Yeah, the attorney, the prosecutor.
The attorney for the sheriff's department. I can't even think of his exact
It's
title
okay.
right now.
It's all right.
But this contract that we're part of breaks all of that down, and it's any questions as far as whether we need help or can handle something or whatever is all described in that contract.
So can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
What is that threshold? What is our cutoff where we are in that outline able to ask?
That I don't know.
No.
I didn't sign the contract. That's part
Okay.
that's left to our police department. And it was,
So then in this statement, so if we are already understaffed, we don't have a police chief, the police, the acting lieutenant, last meeting, or 2 meetings ago, stated that we're already backed up on paperwork. They can't respond. That's why people aren't seeing cruisers.
Have you got any instances
I don't,
where we haven't?
no,
I
he
can't
never.
hear you, Cheney.
I don't know if I've heard any of that.
He never said that we can't respond. We haven't had a call that we haven't
You're
been
right.
able to
I didn't say we
respond
can't
to.
respond. You are correct. I will give you that. But he did say that they were already backed up with paperwork because of they had convicted a heroin crime. They had a suicide, I believe. It was a bunch of traffic stops. But the reason that people in town were not seeing the police presence, the cruisers in town, is because they were backed up on paperwork. He said verbatim that we need help. So when does that we need help transfer into we are going to follow the protocol that you just said to get people here to help us?
We've already done
We
that.
could be hiring a police chief for 6 months.
We've already handled that.
How so?
That's why we hired back Gary Phillips as a part-time officer, but he is a patrolman, but his main purpose in being hired back was strictly for all the paperwork. Gary's extremely familiar with how all of that stuff works. He's been doing it probably longer than I've been alive, and Gary's pretty well caught up with most all of that paperwork that had been falling behind on, and Gary's handling the administrative part of it until we do get a police chief hired.
I appreciate your statement, Ben. Thank you very much. So within the time that Officer Phillips said that they were behind on paperwork, Officer, or Gary, or whatever his name is, I might be getting the officers confused. He's been caught up on this paperwork, and we're now able to handle the caseload that Winchester demands?
You're putting words in my mouth. I did not say that we are caught up. I said he has been working on it, and he is almost caught up. He's working on it. He has been for well over a month since we hired him.
Okay, so we are almost caught up. You just
Correct.
stated that, correct? Okay. So now we are in a almost caught up state.
We're in a good place. The police department has not had a single call that they were not able to respond to.
I will take that verbatim, thank you. Ben stated that the police department has not been able to handle a call that they were not able to respond to. Thank you.
No, that's not what I said. Stop putting words in my mouth. No. I said our police department has not had a single call that they could not respond to. Those were my words. No. Anyway, anybody else from the public have anything? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A32, little B, C, and E.
So move.
Okay.
All those in favor? Roll call. Jack Marsh.
Aye.
James Rokes. Herb Stevens.
Aye.
Gloria Lustek. Ben Klansky, aye. We are now in non-public, and I do not foresee us having any other business.
Gloria, you want me to hit finish? Want me to hit finish?